This is the Georgia Farm Monitor. Since 1966, your source for state and national agribusiness news, and features for farmers and consumers about Georgia's #1 industry, agriculture. The Georgia Farm Monitor is produced by the state's largest general farm organization, the Georgia Farm Bureau. Now, here are your hosts, Ray DeLessio and Kenny Bergamy.
'Tis the season to be jolly. Yes, your one-stop Christmas shopping destination for everything and anything related to Georgia agriculture. This is another edition of the Georgia Farm Monitor. I'm Ray DeLessio.
And I'm Kenny Bergamy. No need to buy Ray or me a gift. We're just happy to have you along for the next 30 minutes. Now, coming up on the program, we'll show you how one group of former U.S. combat soldiers are using their advanced skills and technology in the battle against Georgia's wild pig problem. Also on the show, how UGA says they're learning more about a pesky little insect that's been damaging the state's blueberry crop.
And then later, got a kudzu problem? No need for chemicals when these hungry little fellers will do the trick. See the amazing job they did when Georgia Tech needed their services. These stories and much more starting right now on the Georgia Farm Monitor.
With so many issues being discussed in Washington and Atlanta that affect farmers, it's more important than ever for our elected officials to understand the significance of agriculture in our state. That's why the Georgia Farm Bureau has now set up a web page to help farmers communicate with the people who represent them. Damon Jones has the story.
With agriculture being the #1 industry in the state, it's vital that farmers have their voices heard by elected officials in both Atlanta and Washington. That's the main reason why the Georgia Farm Bureau recently launched an online platform called Voter Voice.
It's a tool that we use to help get the message out when key issues arise, that we can quickly return a high number of letters and contacts to those elected officials, urging them either to support a piece of legislation or oppose one.
With so many issues being discussed that could have a long-term impact on the industry, a quick and efficient communication system like this one only makes sense.
You know, today things move so quickly, all the tax issues are so involved, and the regulatory atmosphere surrounding our industry reaches so far across a lot of different boundaries that it's really essential that we have this very efficient way to communicate with them and them with us.
As for how to sign up for this service, all it takes is a few clicks of the mouse.
It's very easy. You just go to the Georgia Farm Bureau website on the Legislative tab, go to our Action Center and scroll to the bottom, and you'll see a couple different options. We have featured all of the active advocacy campaigns that we have running currently. If you just scroll down to the bottom, there's a place to put in your email and zip code and click submit, and it sends it straight to us to update our contact list.
And so far, the feedback has been very positive as the number of users continue to grow by the day.
We've got about 15,000 people signed up through the site, and when we have an issue that comes up, we will blast a lot of times a pre-written letter to those members, and they can quickly email their legislator with a response.
With its ease of use and efficiency, this is easily the best vehicle to contact your state and national legislators on issues that are important to you. It's also the clearest way to get your voice heard.
This is the most effective way for them to comb through messages and gather insight on what their constituents find important. It's a lot easier for them to count and categorize emails, tweets, Facebook messages than handwritten letters, and you get a lot more response from them as well. So it's really their preferred way of contact.
And having a voice is what this system is all about, as it allows legislators to hear firsthand just how their policies will affect the farmers.
We don't get involved in campaigns, and we're nonpartisan, and we don't contribute to campaigns. So our folks being active and involved in the process is paramount to our success.
Reporting from Macon, I'm Damon Jones for the Georgia Farm Monitor.
Well, you know the old saying, it's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it. And that somebody was our own Mark Wildman, who recently attended a manure management field day and tells us how Georgia dairy and other livestock producers got an opportunity to learn how to better manage waste on their farms.
It is not the most glamorous side of farming, but for many livestock producers, managing waste on their farms is a critical part of their farming operation. Here at UGA's Research Dairy in Tifton, participants gathered around the lagoons to learn how to better manage animal waste and use it to enhance their farms.
Lagoons are used by most dairy and swine producers here as a means of storing waste until they can put them on the land there for growing crops. In that process, you'll have solids that separate out. So how do you separate those? Get them mixed back in so you can get a homogeneous material then to apply on the land, because it does provide a lot of nutrients that the plants can use instead of buying a commercial fertilizer.
One way to do that is to use one of these remote control boats. And a couple of different companies had their boats on display.
They're actually floating pumps, and what the inventors have done, and there's about a dozen of these around the US and Canada being built right now, is they've put a manure pump that can put out 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 gallons a minute on a floating pontoon with nozzles pointing downward, and it's designed to stir up, to mix, to agitate the solids. Really necessary in some of our larger lagoons, the 10 million, the 15 million gallon large lagoons, but even in a much smaller lagoon like this, it's proving its worth at really getting those solids off of the bottom.
The next step attendees got to see is how the lagoon water is used. Dairy farms have an opportunity to use the water on their crops, and this demonstration showed how a properly prepared field can retain the water so it will be better utilized as fertilizer.
We've got 3 tillage practices that we're looking at out in the field that we've already done prior to spreading. One, basically we didn't do anything. The second, we used a harrow to work up the ground, and in the third one we used a chisel plow to rip up the ground.
The third part of the field day had to do with how to contain a spill.
And unfortunately, no matter what your size farm is, there's a chance for an accident. If I'm hauling manure, somebody else may cross the center line. I may have to react, tip a tanker over. I may have a coupling come loose on a hard hose or an irrigation system.
Spills are very rare, but if one happens, it is good to know how to quickly deal with the runoff.
How do you block off a culvert or a ditch field driveway? How do you dam things up? How do you vacuum them out? We also have a local fire department coming in showing a couple of different ways to clean that manure off of the vegetation, off of the soil, so that we don't cause an erosion or another problem as well.
The last thing we want to do is contaminate groundwater, drinking water, stream, or anything there, or a neighbor's property. We want to clean that up as quick as we can and get those nutrients back where we intended them to go to start out with.
It may not be the most pleasant topic to discuss, but one that is very important to many farmers around the state. Reporting from Tifton, I'm Mark Wildman for the Georgia Farm Monitor.
All right, Mark, thank you. Great job. Now, still to come on the show, how Georgia Tech officials are dealing with kudzu problems using sheep from Athens.
Isn't that kind of like siding with the enemy, so to speak,
So
I
to
guess you
speak,
want to
yeah.
say? Yeah, speaking of enemies, after serving our country overseas, nowadays these former soldiers have a different target, Georgia's wild hog problem. That's coming up next. Stay tuned. Well, for the past few weeks, we've been showing you the stories of Georgia businesses who took part in the American Farm Bureau's Rural Entrepreneur Challenge. Now, in our final profile piece, we introduce you to a man who is very serious when it comes to controlling the feral pig problem here in Georgia.
My name is Rod Pinkston, and I'm the founder and CEO of Jaeger Pro Hog Control Systems. We've got 10 retired soldiers in this building with 220 years of military experience. And the first thing I always say whenever I'm giving a presentation is that we are not school-trained wildlife biologists, we're combat-trained soldiers, because there's a big difference between those two. One reason that feral swine are so difficult to control is because they're the 4th most intelligent animal on the planet. You know, we are trained, in the military to look at an enemy from gathering intelligence and doing a reconnaissance, and that's very important with feral pigs. So I believe our background, our career, gives us a leg up on being successful with this. For us, we do a majority of our trapping in the wintertime. It's the coldest time of the year. There's no row crops out there providing a food source. pigs are cold, they're burning calories trying to stay warm. If we give them an automatic feeder as a food source, we're going to pull them in much quicker into a corral trap in the winter than we would if the corn was 8 feet tall in June, July, August. So that's what we try to do. We start off with a trapping program using our intellectual property with our mine trapping system. And what we found in trapping, going back to how many pigs are actually in that sounder. We're trying to target every single pig in a family of pigs is called a sounder. It's like a herd. If there's 30 pigs, our definition of success is to kill or capture all 30 pigs in that sounder. There's nothing left to be educated or to reproduce. And when you can do that, that's how you're solving the problem. And we found that no tripwire or anything is going to solve that. A human being controlling when all 30 pigs are inside that trap enclosure, a human being needs to do that. And I can do that with my cell phone. In fact, our farthest capture has been 8,000 miles away. We realize that this is not a pig problem. We know how to remove all the pigs off of property. This is a human dynamics problem. This is why we're working with Farm Bureau and all the other agencies in the state of Georgia. If we can get all the farmers and landowners and stakeholders in a county on the same page, that's how you remove all the pigs in a first, like Penatchie Creek with 5,000 acres, and then we want to go into all of Dooley County and then the whole entire Soil and Water Conservation District. The easy part is killing and capturing the pigs. The hard part is getting all the humans to work together towards the same concept.
Once again, that is the American Farm Bureau's Rural Entrepreneur Initiative and Challenge. Now, for more information on this program, log on to the address to see there. That is strongruralamerica.com.
Well, if you grow blueberries, you may be familiar with the tiny fly that can cause major damage to that lucrative Georgia crop. Fortunately, on staff at the University of Georgia is a national leader in the fight against this small insect. This minuscule fly is having a major impact on fruit farms across the country. It is projected the insect will cost American farmers more than $650 million a year in lost produce and in attempts at trapping the spotted winged Drosophila.
This fly was first discovered in California in 2008. Since then has been found in 45 states across the country.
The flies target all berries and stone fruit. In Georgia, its major target is the blueberry crop. Cial said that conventional farmers are losing out on profits because of these pests, and the management strategies to control the fly will take some time to implement.
Overall, our goal is to first, go out, conduct surveys to determine where the flies occur and what are the impacts of flies on our blueberry production, and then develop management programs to help growers mitigate those impacts.
The $2 million grant awarded by the U.S. Department of Agriculture's National Institute of Food and Agriculture is intended for the researchers to develop long-term strategies. It's part of NIFA's Organic Agriculture Research and Extension Initiative.
Yes, we actively maintain a colony of this spotted-winged Drosophila fly in the lab. This helps us conduct research studies during fall and winter when flies. We are not actually doing projects in the field. Once we have confirmed those in the lab, we take it back to the field and verify those aspects, and then develop recommendations based on our final results.
Cial says he realizes how important agriculture is to the state and to the country's economy. He grew up on a farm in his homeland of Pakistan.
As a high school student, going to the farm and helping family with the farm activities was my daily routine. I knew I was going to be working with agriculture, but never knew where and what kind of projects I'll be working on. I'm excited that I finally landed in Georgia, where the climate is as close to the place where I was raised as you can get in the United States. So I'm really excited and happy to be helping farmers in the state of Georgia.
All right, time to pay some bills. When the monitor continues, we'll head to Atlanta and show you how Georgia Tech officials learned that a little sheep goes a long way in managing a kudzu problem.
Plus, Georgia Governor Nathan Deal sits down with the Monitor and explains how growing up on a farm helped prepare him for a career in public office. Stay tuned.
Living on a small farm was certainly an exciting opportunity to grow up on. We had about 7 acres where our house was located, and then about 5 miles down the road we had about over 300 acres of a farm there. Growing up on a farm, you always have something to do. You never had to worry about what you were going to do after school or on weekends. You always had a chore to perform. Pretty early on, I got involved with 4-H and then later with FFA and started showing livestock. And I decided early on too that the best way to have quality livestock to show is to grow your own. So we started a small herd of registered Duroc pigs, and I guess I was the nursemaid and the person who delivered many, many litters of pigs, and always with the idea that I could pick out the one I was going to be showing in just a few months after that. It was a great way to grow up. My mother insisted that my father build her a laying hen house, so she did that, and she had her customers where we collected the eggs, candled the eggs, washed them, and then she had a delivery route, so we would do that too. But couldn't think of any background, any better place to grow up. I thought that that was the direction I was going to go. In fact, my desire was to be a veterinarian because I did like animals so much. That changed as I got a little older and as I got into my senior year in high school, and instead of going to the University of Georgia and trying to get into vet school, I decided to go to Mercer University and wound up being a lawyer. But even with my practice of law in a small town here in North Georgia, growing up on a farm was very helpful to me because I understood many of my clients who came from that same background. Well, my wife Sandra grew up here in Hall County, and when I got out of the Army, we were looking for a place to go, and we had an offer, actually had 2 offers, from attorneys here in Gainesville for a new lawyer coming out of the Army to begin a practice, and I accepted an offer by who was then State Senator Bob Andrews, and I went into practice with him. It was just the 2 of us for a year or so there, and it was a great experience in a small community, relatively small community, in a small law firm. I learned a lot there as well. I sort of backed into politics, I suppose you would say. Back in 1980, when our state senator decided not to run for re-election, I had a lot of friends encouraging me to run for that state Senate seat, which I did, and I was successful and stayed there for 12 years in the state Senate. And as you know, that's a part-time position, and I was driving back and forth almost every night trying to keep a law practice going. It got to the point that I had made the decision I was either going to get out of politics or I was going to get into it full time. And about that point in time, our incumbent congressman decided not to run for re-election. So I had the encouragement of running for Congress, and I said, well, this is a good way to test it. Am I supposed to be in politics or am I supposed not to be? And thanks to the voters of the 9th Congressional District, they gave me the opportunity to serve in Congress, and I enjoyed my time there, but I can tell you, I certainly have enjoyed being governor much more than being in Congress. In order to get anything done, you have to have the cooperation of a lot of people. And that's especially true when you're trying to govern a state as big as the state of Georgia. And I have been very, very fortunate on several fronts. One is to have some very competent people who are working with me. They are my chief of staff and all the people underneath him who are part of our overall team. They're very competent, mostly all young people, and they do an excellent job. You also have to have the cooperation of the members of the General Assembly, and that means that you have to listen. You can't just tell them what to do, you have to listen to what they think should be done. And that's the approach I have taken, and I think it has served us well, and I believe it has served the state of Georgia well. We have made tremendous strides in a relatively short period of time. I've often said that if you can learn to show a boar in a open pen with many other people trying to show their boars, or if you can show a steer or a heifer in a big ring with other people, it is good training for being a political leader. Family is an important part. I was fortunate enough to grow up in a Christian home. My wife and I have had a very devoted First Lady, and I think most people who have met her understand what I'm saying. She is the backbone of our family. And with our 4 children, she's done a great job raising them. I've tried to do my part. I'm proud of all 4 of our children and now our 6 grandchildren. Faith is a part of it as well. You have to have faith that if you do the right thing, that good things will occur. And that if you try to direct your own family and then in your capacity of helping other families in this state, that if you do it right, that good things will happen for them as well.
Well, finally today, many urban areas are realizing what farmers have known all along. That's goats and sheep make for great weed control. In fact, when Georgia Tech needed help recently getting rid of a major kudzu problem, they turned to a local Athens woman who made the trip to Atlanta and let her babies feast away. Jennifer Chandler knows her sheep. In fact, she's been raising them for over 30 years. But one day, she saw something that caught her eye.
A fella had 1,500 sheep inside the city limits of Tallahassee eating kudzu. And ever since then, I've been trying to do it, and we've been doing it pretty seriously now for a year and 5 years altogether, off and on doing it. We have projects in parks and nature preserves all over Atlanta. We live near Athens, but we do most of our work around Atlanta. That's where people seem to appreciate their green space, and we love coming to Atlanta, so that's what we do.
As the owner and operator of sheepswork.com, Jennifer says it takes about a week to 10 days for her sheep to defoliate an area infested with English ivy, poison ivy, kudzu, and many other invasive plants. Best of all, they do so without harming trees, soil, or the use of chemicals.
She's all for kind of using sustainable methods of getting rid of kudzu and other noxious weeds and vines.
Ann Boykin-Smith is a master planner in Georgia Tech's Capital Planning and Space Management Department. When the university became aware of a kudzu problem north of the biotech quad, Ann immediately called Jennifer.
We're about sustainability on our campus and trying to incorporate alternative means of doing things that are healthier and cleaner for the environment. So I looked into what it would take to have sheep grazing. I read some things about Trees Atlanta using them, and so we decided to take a chance on it a year ago, and the administration approved it, and the president's property approved it, so it was a go, and it's been very successful. Even after a couple of days in the rain, they were amazing. They had cleared almost this whole area right down here, and yesterday when I came, it was raining, and they were under the trees to be protected. So I think the beauty of having sheep is that they do not need shelter, and so because a lot of people said, oh, do you have a barn to keep them in? They can just live out in the open.
The sheep are good to go where really no other method besides intense chemical control, herbicides, would work. And so we do steep slopes, rough terrain, environmentally sensitive areas. We're able to save woods where English ivy and kudzu and other invasive plants, privet, just crowd out the people and the other desirable vegetation. The sheep can go in there and do a great job cleaning everything up. And then the job isn't over when the sheep leave. We still need to do some hand work in most situations, or bring the sheep back for repeated grazing. But neither do you mow your grass just one time and done with that. So it works really well. And let me tell you, Kenny, those things, they do very quick work.
Wow.
And they never stop eating. It's kind of like my family during the holidays. That's going to do it for this week's edition of the Georgia Farm Monitor.
Just a reminder, for all the latest ag info regarding food, great recipes, and what's happening down on the farm, be sure and check out our Twitter, Facebook, and Pinterest pages. You'll stay informed and see what's up in the world of farming and the Farm Monitor Show.
I do apologize to my family, by the way. Take care, everybody. We will see you next week right here on the Georgia Farm Monitor.
Have a great week.